And now the
Are you
moment
sure?
you've been waiting
All right,
for.
I'm adding
It's time
wrong
for Rick.
things to the thing here, but we're
It's
ready
not
to
Ricky's
go.
recap.
No, what are we doing here?
It's just a little bit early for that right now. Hey, Wade, glad to have you on board. Hold tight, here we
It's
go.
Friday.
To the SalesSlAP
Here we go.
podcast, where we hit you with the hard truths, bold strategies, and expert insights you need to master the art of selling. And who's leading the charge? Meet your hosts, Rick Denley, Simon Hares, and Scott Donald. Get ready for real talk, expert advice, and game-changing strategies. Because in sales, you don't just play, you slap. Let's dive in.
And here we go. Welcome, everyone. Today on the SalesSlAP podcast, we're going to run twice for you in case you didn't see it the first time.
You know what? It is a good intro. I was really paying attention.
You want to see it
and
again,
that is a good
Scott?
intro.
Okay, good. How about
See
that? Is that enough for you? We're just going to keep running it because everybody loves it. Everybody loves it that much. Our guest on this episode of SalesSlAP is a passionate people leader, aiding organization, customers, and teams in leveraging technology to achieve their business goals, educating and empowering decision makers to understand where they are at from a technology perspective, envision and collaborate where they need to be, and how best to empower them to drive a strategic technology plan to align business goals and achieve results while mitigating risk. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the SalesSlAP podcast, Wade Wall. Wade, welcome to the show.
Hey,
Thank you. Excited to be
that's an
here.
impressive bio.
That was well done. Well done.
Yeah. Well, that's what we do here on SalesSlAP. We're very professional. Wait, tell the great people and our viewers, where are you connecting with us from?
I'm in Vancouver.
Vancouver, Canada. Simon,
Simon, have you been there before?
The whole wide world.
Why, Simon, are you in Vancouver?
I bloody wish I would, but don't worry. It's only another, what is it, Scott, until we meet up? 6 weeks?
It's about 6 weeks. Yep.
It
6
is.
weeks until the big day.
That's it. And Wade, if you're walking by Pallet down by the waterfront, you pop in as well.
I will be definitely connecting when you get here.
That's an invite. Look at that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Of our co-hosts, as we're talking here, Wade, you know better, both Simon and Scott. So I got to hand it over to them because they said this is going to be a great guest to have on our show. He's doing some great things. So over to Scott or Simon. What do you think?
You know, I'll kick. So it was. I won't go into a great amount of detail, but I was referred to a Wade organization a couple of years ago through somebody that I knew in the States. As a matter of fact, we did a full day of training together with the team. And, Wade and I quickly realized that we shared a common love of hockey, music, and of everything sales and sales leadership. We've had a ton of really great conversations. And it just made sense to have Wade on the show. So I'm looking at your bio here, or the information that you shared with us. And I know you and I have already had this conversation, but, given that we are all of the same vintage and you've been in this sales and sales leadership profession for some time, what would you say are some of the things that maybe the most powerful lessons you've learned over the last number of years and decades in the sales leadership? What would you say has really sort of stuck with you as a fundamental truth?
Well, Scott, you say we're in the same vintage, but I want to be careful there because I am younger. So
I'm younger still.
Nice try though, Scott, to just pile us all into the same. But that's good.
Yeah, I know.
I always have to remember why we're doing this, and it's because we're in the customer satisfaction business. Really, that's what we do. We help customers, satisfy them with services, solutions. That part of it's simple. Everything else gets complex. So right. I always have to bring myself back to why I do this. And it's to help customers. And as Rick said at the beginning, best leverage technology at the right time to help support their business goals, whether it's managing their money, helping mitigate risk, or just increase productivity. So it's always get back to the basics of why I'm doing this. I'm here to help customers, that customer experience, and it just happens to be with technology.
Would you say that because you've kind of really held on to that belief that, that's obviously then sort of driven the way you lead and build the culture there at the company, that kind of filters through it. Going to use a hockey analogy, the team tends to look like the coach. How do you help then instill that with the team that you have there?
It's, I think, just trying to instill confidence in the individuals as they develop their skills and knowledge to help get in front of the customers, to really understand what we're trying to, again, accomplish with that satisfaction. It's always hard. The technology is so complex. It's a long journey with the customer. Yeah. It really never has a start and end. So it's really helping people understand where to insert themselves with their confidence of knowing the customer well enough to help provide knowledge, insights, advice to help solve their problems.
Yeah.
Nice.
I suppose when you start to think about, and I've worked with clients within the technology space, especially within the MSP space, and there seems to be this relationship within sales of, do I get too technical and end up giving too much away in terms of advice to help them? And at what point do I need to switch that off and then actually become the salesperson and actually sell them a solution with not giving too much away? How do those challenges fit within your business?
Super relevant. We have two main personas or stakeholders that we talk to. We have the business stakeholder and we have the technical stakeholder. And our job is to figure out which one they are. The CEO, the business owner, the CEO, CFO, they're the business stakeholders. They speak business language. Whereas the technology stakeholders, the CTOs, the directors of technology, the IT managers, they speak more technical. Our job as within the sales organization is to be knowledgeable enough to know and speak to the business stakeholder, be knowledgeable enough to start the conversation with the technology stakeholder, and then know when and where to bring in the right next people to help continue the conversation without getting too technical.
Yeah, I suppose all the way along the line, who's controlling, or who is actually controlling that sales conversation? Because it sounds like you're trying to, and you're doing your best to do it because you've got these two stakeholders. But I wonder from their point of view whether they feel they're controlling the conversation. And I suppose that service aspect plays a big role in that. My next question, I suppose, is when we think about having the business conversations and the sales specific conversations, and for those people who might be watching who are in the tech or the MSP space, what challenges are they currently facing within sales that maybe resonate with people in the same space?
To probably say, getting the time of the right people to have the right conversations. We solve problems. We usually get conversations when there's pain. And if there's no pain, there's no awareness that there's things to do, problems to solve, technology to upgrade. And so we have to find the right time to get their attention when it most matters. Now, there's lots of times where they're feeling the pain, the big boom happens and they've been breached or attacked or things are down. Then, then it's the fire is in full force and we've got to go firefight. We want to get ahead of that. And so we want to get in front of people before the pain. We want to talk to them about where they're at, where they're going, and have a bit of a roadmap or game plan to help them get there. Getting that effort, because technology is so complex. There's so many moving parts and pieces to it that we just have to help insert ourselves where they're at, figure out where the biggest pain points are, educate them, and then work towards solutions.
This is a good discussion, Wade. Thanks for bringing this up, Simon, because having sold and led sales teams in the technology sector for years myself, that differentiator between providing the right solution to the technology people and decision makers, and then balancing as well the financial decision makers, because they both come into play, don't they? You can't ignore one and be successful with the sale. And it's interesting to me. So I'm just curious to expand on that point a little bit. Do you segregate them when dealing with them? Do you pull them all together at the same time? How does that work? Because they're completely different mindsets, from a technology engineering mindset to perhaps a buying, accounting, or CEO type of mindset.
when we're working, and usually we're with the technology people first, we get to collaborate with them. A lot of times we're their ally. We're their ally to go to the business and say, look, here's what we need to do. Here's why we need to do it. Here's our trusted advisor telling us to do this. And it's, we're hoping we can educate the business stakeholders just enough to understand what we're talking about, because it can get complex and we try not to go down that rabbit hole, but to get their approval, their buy-in, their awareness. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges we always have, is getting the business stakeholders educated and aware enough about the value of the technology, why it matters, and to invest in it in a more proactive way.
Okay, that's a great answer. Two different sales approaches, right? One for the technology side of things and one for the more financial side and economical.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, that's great.
But the pre-sales side of things comes in anyway, doesn't it? So you have to get that. The pre-sales bit is everything.
Well, you almost have to, we don't segregate them, but sometimes if you have multiple relationships, you are trying to have the business conversation early and the value. You're having the technical conversation early and where the problems or challenges or opportunities are. And then you got to bring that together at some point. So it's just different and a bit more complex.
All
I
right.
suppose it's awkward that you don't put the cart before the horse as well by the time you get to a certain bit, and you haven't. It's funny, is that you haven't quoted too early or you haven't closed too early. You've solved the problem. Just out of interest, and tell me I'm being too nosy, how long is the sales cycle on average from completely cold to signing?
Yeah, that varies. 3 to 6 months is probably a common time frame, depending on the complexity of the solution. More point solutions can happen faster. More complex items where you're dealing with bigger infrastructures, moving to the cloud, they take a lot more planning and execution.
Yeah, it resonates completely with what I'm looking at there. Yeah.
Good. I've got one for you, Wade, that I'm curious about in the technology. Technology is accelerating faster than most organizations can keep up with it. From AI, cybersecurity to strategic planning. What's one knockout punch and technology that you like to see leaders bringing to their staff and their people?
Wow, that's a big one. So pace of change of technology is one of our biggest challenges. It moves way too fast. Prior to the pandemic, it moved at a fast pace. The pandemic hit and it skyrocketed, and it hasn't stopped. And with AI and security at the forefront, it's going at a pace we've never seen before. So keeping pace is super tough for us, let alone our customers. So we always feel we're chasing and we're trying to get ahead of it, but most businesses can't move fast enough to get ahead of it. And so we're trying to, again, help them understand where they're at, invest the right dollars, get the best return on those dollars where we can. I think one of the biggest challenges on top of that we have is we do require the businesses to get smarter about their knowledge of technology more than ever before as well. They need to understand security a little more. They need to understand AI more than ever before to see where it's going to fit within their business and for us to help support them in implementing that or protecting them. So we have an obligation to teach them and educate them as well as our people to match the conversation, and we have to bring their technology knowledge level up, and they have to invest in that time, but we have to find the touch points, the nuggets. It's a slower process. They're not going to learn overnight, and so we always find the way to nurture the customer and send them bits and pieces of information to get to a point where they're ready to have the conversation.
And educating your customer without offending them isn't always easy, is it?
Correct.
This reminds me, and you brought it up earlier, Wade, about when there's like a pressing problem, right? So I'm going to go back to my days in telecom where they may have an incumbent provider for their big pipe to the internet. And so part of our play was to provide the backup pipe. And where I'm going with this is part of the education is and risk mitigation is a lot of times the IT folks would say, we really need that backup internet connection for business continuity. But then they're not able to get approval, at the finance or CEO level. And, I'm wondering, how do you guys balance that where you're helping customers mitigate these things prior to it being a 5-alarm fire? So with the pace of technology and with the solutions that you're providing as an MSP, and Simon mentioned that earlier, for those who aren't in the tech space, MSP is managed service provider. How do you guys go about, educating and taking that trusted advisor position with your clients, where don't wait until it's a 5-alarm fire, do these things today in order to minimize the chance of it becoming an issue. So how does that play out in your world?
Yeah, it's getting ahead of it earlier. We'll do lunch and learns, or we'll do some education series just by getting meetings with the customer and talking to them long before that item. Those things are coming to play so we can help educate. But it's understanding their budget cycles is huge. Knowing when and where they need to get some dollars for the initiatives. That sometimes is the hardest part. Is we got to get ahead of those fires. We got to get them planning a lot sooner so that when and where they need to do it, they have the funds in their budget. They understand what we're talking about, why they need to do it, and then it flows way better than if we wait closer to when that fire is going to happen, put the pressure on to do it sooner. The funds aren't there, then it's a little more chaotic or harder, or it just doesn't work as well, for sure.
So you're going back to the old lunch and learns here and keeping everybody educated.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because I'm thinking about this strategy, and I'm hoping that people, the thousands of people who are watching this right now are taking notes. But it's the idea of the education about having multiple relationships within the organization, and it's also so education, multiple relationships, and then also you made the point earlier about the technical folks have different requirements and things that are important to them than maybe the operational or finance folks. And that then becomes incumbent on the sales team to have those relationships, do that homework, do that discovery, right? So it's not go in and show your pitch deck. There's a lot more strategy involved with this than that.
Yeah, we have to understand their journey, and we have to insert ourselves at the right point in the journey. Everyone's journey is different in where they're at and where they're going. So we have to figure out where they're at. We have to insert ourselves at the right place and then help in that ongoing effort to take them to where they need to go. And that's part of the job of the sales account executive, the advisor, is to just really understand where are you at, how did you get here, and where are you going. So we can get you there. Because knowing where they came from is also really important, because it could be a disaster, but it's not their fault.
We've got a live viewer here, that Olivier, pardon me. How do you educate to help leadership control shadow AI with an organization? Very good question, Laura.
Hey, Laura. Shadow IT used to be the term of the past, where organizations would bring in some technology without permission, without validating security, and start using it. And that's really gotten prevalent more lately with AI. There's AI tools available more easily to more people. And so controlling that, making sure that the business leaders understand the value AI can bring and start building a path to bring AI into the business is important. There's a lot of business owners, stakeholders that fear AI because of misinformation, and there's many that embrace AI but are implementing it far too fast without any controls. So it's a matter of embracing it. It's happening. If you think AI isn't going to be part of your business, you're going to get left behind. So you have to understand it. You have to figure out where it's going to fit in your business, and you have to embrace it. You have to help your people know what AI tools they can use. Get them using the right safe ones that have been implemented, and there's policies and they're using them properly, and keep expanding on that. Don't fight it. But there's so many tools. It's moving. The pace is so fast that you've got to be on top of it, and having the technology controls of knowing what's running on the network, who's using what, is more important than ever. So that security STEM side of it is critical.
Yeah, and I like that, because what you're saying is leaders need to embrace that change and then lead it as well. Get out in front of it for their staff. Scott?
Well, I was just going to say, I feel like, was this a bit of a setup? Because I'm looking here and I see Laura and you are connected. I'm wondering, like, you've obviously got your groupies, your followers. It feels like Laura was one of the people that came up there and fed you a bit of a lob ball so you could hit it out of the park.
Here you go, Laura. Thank you.
There's money involved now too. Wow.
I'm sorry, Wade, it's sales. But there always is money involved. Do we need to do a little bit of education? Just a tiny bit. On the AI side, I just want to reiterate something I said recently. When we started, we talked about AI chats, didn't we? Almost very early on. And I think I was training somebody recently who had moved into a very different space from working in a very heavy tech space that was moving into AI and using AI left and right. And she said that ultimately there are people out there that are embracing AI, but there are people out there who are very nervous of AI because of the misinformation that's out there. But the people that are fully embracing it are not necessarily, doing any checks. They're just taking their word for it because they're told they have to. And she said this, it was a kind of flooring statement. And she said, we have to always remember that AI is the only technology that can actually hallucinate. And when she said that, it was kind of a real flooring moment because there was quite a bit of discussion around the power of AI. And it suddenly sobered up the room completely because everyone went, oh, shit. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It does get it wrong. And one person said, so why does it get it wrong? And she said, it's quite simple. Sometimes it's just the version of the, say, ChatGPT that you're using or what have you, that can lead it to not dig deep enough or to dig in the right places, or you haven't told it to dig in the right places. So it was a really interesting thing, that AI is the only technology that can hallucinate. And I've kind of kept that with me with everything I use with AI with my business. And it's kind of, what are you really seeing? Are you seeing that or not? What's going on?
Yeah, we talk about that when we do our a series on AI for groups of our customers. And yeah, the different AI tools can hallucinate. They're all different. Some can remember better than others. So as you're going through your prompting and continual reprompting, sometimes they forget about what you asked at the beginning, and then all of a sudden you're getting different results or answers. It's an assistant, it's a tool, and when used properly and understood, it's super powerful. The productivity savings are massive, but when used not properly or not vetted, it could be full of misinformation. One thing I just want to touch on, because I think it's really important, because we talk about business leaders and the business stakeholder and gaining their confidence or their knowledge around certain things. With AI, that is our biggest challenge, is typically business owners don't embrace technology the same way. They do see they love the new shiny computers and tech, but they're busy doing their regular role, the work that they do on a regular basis. And AI is different, and we do need business leaders to invest that time and effort to learn AI. Yeah. And part of our series that we do is just get them in the room, start talking to them about it, take away the myths, show them how it can be used at the basic level to start bringing it into the business to then expand from there.
I think that's really wise work to be able to do that investment. Mm-hmm. But I've always got this in my head right now, is that even in 2026, we are still seeing senior people in organizations who are scared of social media, of putting stuff out on LinkedIn. So you sit there and you think, hang on a minute, they haven't got the business maturity to understand how it works. They're still stuck in a place where they think a member of staff is going to write something inflammatory about the business and all this, that, and the other, or say the wrong thing, or look up something racy that they shouldn't be looking at. And yet, when we talk about AI, something that's even more advanced, are we still going to be talking about this in 10 years, where we're still saying people need to be invested in AI, like we are now with social media? We're trying to get businesses on board with that, because it's so hard.
So for us, we have to qualify our customers and find the ones that are champions, that want to invest, and spend our time with them. An hour with a customer that embraces technology, wants to invest in it, is an hour better spent than trying to convince somebody to use technology when they should already be there. So that's again, understanding where they're at in their journey and where they're going. There's a point in time where we're just not the right fit to help them move because they don't want to move.
Wade, can you repeat that again about having conversations with the right people? Because I think that's a really, really important sales lesson.
Yeah.
Just a point about trying to convince them. I think and why I'm bringing this up is I think about younger Scott, who was incredibly handsome. Now you have the silver fox thing going on, but younger Scott, I like Simon's expression. I would try to sell it to everybody. I thought everybody could be convinced, and I think you made a really, really solid point around this notion of those people who are ready and are already adopting technology, as opposed to trying to convince somebody who's not there yet. Can you just reiterate that point very quickly? Because I think that's a good one for readers to take.
You have to qualify the customer or disqualify quickly where we want to invest our time. And those that are ready, eager, understand technology well enough that it fits within their business, they want to invest, they want to learn, and they want our help, that is a far better journey to be on than those customers that aren't investing, are fighting it, are scared, and just don't see the value and the outcomes that they can get.
Yeah, looking back at my younger self, like Scott likes to do, in my sales days, if there's one thing I wish that I'd learned sooner, it was that qualifying is one of the most important sales stages. That's my opinion, but qualifying. I had endless amounts of energy, but if I directed it in the right area and pre-qualified people, I would have had a lot more success earlier on, because we don't have time to waste right now. And salespeople are very stressed with that. So qualifying and finding that alignment between the correct people, in this case, that are willing to dive into the technology to make use of it and not push it away is pretty vital.
But if you learned from a friend of mine early, just disqualify quickly.
Yes.
Use your time wisely. It's valuable.
I think there's when we talk about qualification, if you're not qualifying your customers, no wonder you're going to get ghosted, because you could have ended up doing so much too soon with the wrong person. And therefore you have to disqualify them and be aware of what you can't do as well as what you can. So, it's so important to disqualify somebody as well.
Sales lesson.
Well, the thing is, we're taught as salespeople, aren't we? We should be talking to everyone. We should try and solve everyone's problem, yada, yada, build a relationship. And it's right. Of course it is. But I think about some of the things that we learn, over the years. Todd Capone talks about the transparency cell. Tell people what you can't do as well as the things you can. And that helps you to qualify who you're dealing with, because otherwise you're just going to end up chasing ghosts forever and a day, or dealing with objections that are just coming out of thin air purely because you didn't qualify. And it's so easy using something as simple as BANT or MEDDIC, any of those. There's so many out there.
And what are those, Simon? What are those?
Sorry?
What are those that you just mentioned?
BANT and MEDDIC.
Tools?
Yes, they are qualification tools. Thank you. Yeah, qualification tools, budget, authority, need, and timing. And then MEDDIC is another one that looks at the metrics that they're going to be using, the economic buyer, the decision-making process, the decision-making criteria, then the identification of pain, and then your internal champion.
Nice. I didn't want to skim over it because these are important tools, and
yeah, they are
using them right now. I know you're so familiar with them and you train people on them, but skills, tools, and knowledge is what we're here to share. And those were some really good tools that you just mentioned.
And it's funny you bring that up, because we've typically been more on the BANT side, and we're just starting to now, and those of my team that are listening, we will be talking more about MEDDIC and moving down that path. So that's interesting that got brought up. So that's cool.
That is cool. And I want to make one point, because I know we're about to transition here, but I feel like Wade's made a number of really, really solid points. But he's made them with what I think is one of the best short sleeve dress shirts we've seen in a long time. That is a quality shirt you're wearing today, Wade. And I feel like it's really helped drive home your important messages. So I just wanted to point that out.
It's all about fashion on SalesSlAP.
It is all about fashion.
I thought Scott was joining us today. Who's this gentleman that's on the call?
I'm right here.
Pretty much. All right, watch for this one now.
Recap. Take it away, Ricky.
All right, Ricky's recap, which I know we all look forward to. Incredible guest here in Wade. A few things I want to point out again that you said to us, which was really, really important. And one of them especially, identify the decision maker, before you launch into the value that you want to bring, because it can be different, especially when you're selling technology, between the technology and the finance people. Businesses need to be educated, but we do it in a way which doesn't offend them. Very key point there. And AI needs to be led, because it can be what Simon told us, it can hallucinate, which is very interesting. So we have to be sure that we check out the tools, especially in AI, that we're using. And more than anything else, going back to old school here, make sure that we disqualify early is something that Wade said that really stood out to me. Wade, thanks for being on the show today. Really incredible to have you here. Where can people reach out and find out more about you and what you do?
Yeah, probably LinkedIn's the easiest place. There's not many Wade balls that look like me out there in technology. So look me up on LinkedIn and I'd be happy to connect.
That's great. Well, we appreciate you being on the show.
This has been fun.
Today.
Yes.
Thank you, Wade.
Appreciate it. Thank you, gentlemen.
Time flies. We're really pleased to have you here. Thank you. And Scott, maybe you can help us out. Who have we got coming up next on the show?
Next, and it's going to be a bit of a gap because 2 Fridays from now is Good Friday, but on April the 10th, we're going to have another returning guest, Carol Mahoney. Carol is going to be back on the show, so very exciting.
Yeah,
cool.
It is very exciting.
Yeah.
Thanks to all the viewers that tuned into this. Know that you can get a hold of us on our LinkedIn as well and connect with Wade on his. Thanks for being here, everyone.
For attending the SalesSlAP podcast. Feel free to reach out to your hosts, Rick, Simon, and Scott, and our guests from this episode for more information. We look forward to seeing you next time.
And now we dance.
Thanks, everyone.